And welcome back, everyone, to It's Last Call. Last Call, the alcohol only on the lastcallpodcast.com. And after a wild weekend, we had to bring this guy in because he is peacocking a bit. He was very happy with the results. He was telling everybody who doubted certain fighters, I told you so. And he's looking forward to the future because a lot of people have improved it after this weekend. I give you once again from Eurosport UFC, from Tapology, and from the MMA Oddsbreaker podcast, as well as several other podcasts. I give you MMA Insider Newsbreaker himself. I give you Marcel Dorff. So, Marcel, let's start off here with the opening fight. Arman Tsarukyan with, as we saw here, just dominated Dan Hooker, hit an arm triangle, triangle choke. You get the submission victory here. Safe to say that he is now the number one contender, right? He actually deserves a title shot against Ilia Topouria.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me as always. Yeah, for sure. I mean, he was already, in my opinion, the number one contender. He even, made a big statement last night. He looked good. I never thought that Dan Hooker was going to beat him, to be honest. I think there's a difference in skill level, definitely if it comes to the ground game striking. I mean, Hooker can do well in striking, but still, I think Arman is overall the better fighter. And he showed it. Dude got also crazy guillotine choke defense. Um, yeah, and he finished him in the second round with the arm triangle choke. Was a beautiful win for Arman, and yeah, I think a title shot for him should be next. But if it will be next, I'm not sure. You never know with the UFC. Um, it depends on when Ilya can return. And Arman said that he's good to go for a title shot. So we'll see, man. I hope it happens because that's the most skilled fight in the division, in my opinion. Arman against Ilya.
Who will get next? Because as I like Arman Tsarukyan, I do. He's not a big name, and the UFC is just dying to make Paddy Pimblett versus Ilia Topuria. That fight just sells itself. That's something you can put on mainstream CBS. That is something that you, in fact, will even love because you'll be involved with trash talking. You'll probably walk out with Ilya and start telling Paddy, "Hey, you know what? Sousers do get knocked out. You fatty." I can just see that just the hype of this fight is going to be big. So, if you have to be a betting man, which gets made first? Sarukian versus Topuria or Paddy Pimblett versus Topuria?
Listen, I'm really for the, how do you say that, who deserves it should get it. So for me, listen, man, I would go always for Ilya against Arman because I think that's a better fight. But I understand that. The UFC looks also at like who's popular, and I think they really want Paddy to fight for a title. I think he should fight someone else before, but it's probably going to be Paddy, man. I'd be surprised if the UFC changes their mind. They not do that often. So yeah, I think Paddy will be next probably, but in my opinion, Armand should be next, 100%.
So if he doesn't get Topuria,
Hmm.
does he wait? Does he take on Charles Oliveira or Max Holloway? Like, what should Armin do if UFC says, yeah, you did a great job, but we're still making Pimblett versus Topuria next.
Also Gaethje is nagging for a title shot, so they can either do like, listen, if they do Paddy, they can do Gaethje against Arman. If they do Arman, they can do Gaethje against Pimblett, and if they do Gaethje, they can do Arman versus Pimblett. So they actually have these options, I think, and yeah, I think Max Holloway is probably going to fight Charles next. So yeah, I think those are the options.
Meanwhile, where does Dan Hooker go from here? Because he's a fun fighter, so the UFC will find him a fight. But as you said, he's sort of limited. You know what he is. He's mostly a pure striker. He's not inept on the ground, but against jiu-jitsu guys, he's gonna have some trouble. So
Mhm.
if you're the UFC, what do you do with Dan Hooker to keep him around and basically put him in fun fights?
Yeah, you can either try to get Hooker back to the top again, or you can build another guy up against him. I think that probably makes the most sense. I never saw Dan Hooker as a legit top contender or whatever. I think he's a fun fighter. Don't get me wrong. Um, so yeah, you can do that. I think, and would make sense. And yeah, you can do pretty much whoever, whoever he can fight. You can do pretty much whoever. So um, maybe Fiziev would be a fun fight. But yeah, give him a fun fight, I think, and he's entertaining guy. He's a fan favorite. So yeah.
Dan Hooker versus Michael Chandler sounds pretty fun. It won't be, one of these, technical aspects, but it'll just be a good, fun fight. Final question on this before I let you go. Can Tsarukyan beat Topuria? I mean, I know that we didn't see any of that in this fight because Tsarukyan is just head and shoulders above Hooker, but from what you've seen, is he a guy that you would say, yeah, he's a favorite to beat the current champ?
Yeah, I think he is in my opinion the only one in the division who would be able to make a good chance against Topuria. So will he beat him? I'm not sure if he will beat him, but he definitely has a good chance, one of the better chances in the division in my opinion. So that's also why I want to see it, because I think he is like the guy who actually has the, how do you say that? The ability to maybe match Ilya. Maybe not, maybe I'm wrong, but that's why I want to see it, and that's why we want to see those fights. So yeah.
One thing that a lot of UFC fans were happy about, or certain fans would like to see, Ian Machado Gary defeating Belal Muhammad by unanimous decision. You could hear the sigh of relief from UFC management, especially Dana White, where it's like, because you could tell there was a bit of worry, like at one point, like, okay, crap, this could be a Belal kind of fight. He all of a sudden he's back in title contention. God damn, this guy, he's boring as hell, but he keeps winning. How happy was the UFC that it was the Ian, Machado Gary show this weekend?
They're probably happy, man, that Ian won. At the same time, I think Ian is also not really entertaining to watch at all. So, I mean, it's for UFC. It's maybe a fun win for them, so they can push that Ireland versus Dagestan feud again. With him maybe fighting Islam. So that can be, but I don't think it was an amazing fight. It was kind of boring, but he deservedly won, in my opinion. Gary had him 2-1. Yeah, the UFC will probably be happy with that because they didn't really want Belal as a champion, although Belal deserved that title when he won it. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't think either one is very entertaining to watch, but at least Belal isn't insufferable in my opinion.
Okay. So let's ask the first question and it's on everybody's
Yeah.
minds. Belal Muhammad's lost two fights in a row.
Hmm.
Any chance he gets cut? We've
No,
seen fighters who've gotten
no,
cut for less. You say no, Marcel, but remember,
no.
Martin Buday won 6 fights and the UFC cut him. He was
Martin
a
Buday
heavyweight.
Martin Buday was hanging on in the top, just in the top 15. Belal is a former champion, and he's still ranked. I think he's number 2 at the moment. He will probably drop to number 5 or number 4. They're not going to cut him, man, for over 2 losses. Um, he lost to Gary and he lost to Jack Dalla. Those are all top guys. They're not going to cut him because of that. Maybe if he loses 2 more against less competition, then they will. But right now, no, I don't think so.
Never put it past Dana White. If there's a guy he doesn't like, he'll cut him. As I said, we saw that with Martin Buday. He won 6 straight fights, and they still cut him. Even you were like, "What the hell? Really? What the hell?"
Yeah, that didn't make sense. And now fucking Buchecha, who he beat, is on the main card on the last, how do you say it, the last event of this year. It doesn't make sense, dude. So, yeah. But yeah, you'll see what the UFC does all the time. So, yeah.
So, what do you do with Ian Machado Gary next then? Because I know
But
he.
it's very simple, you know. Listen, if you look clean to the performances, and I mean to the results, he deserves to fight for the title next. If you look clear to the results, he fought Belal Muhammad, he beat him. It was top contender, former champion. He beat Carlos Pradas last time, who is also in the mix at the moment. So you got to look at, is it him? And you have like, who else do you have? Morales. You have Pradas, and you have, and people say you have Usman, but I think that's bullshit. So in my opinion, it's either Ian Garry or it's Michael Morales right now. Shavkat still has to come back. I think Shavkat needs one more fight since he's been out for so long. So it's either Gary or Morales. If you go for the more spectacular fighter, you go for Morales. If you go for the guy who is like, in my opinion, probably more, how do you say that? Well-rounded, might go with Gary. But the dude is so insufferable, man. But I mean, he deserves honestly to fight for the title. So I don't mind if he gets it. But it's either him or Morales, I think.
If he doesn't, do you make Ian Garry versus Kamaru Usman? Because he, well, he does, he does deserve something. He was coming off a loss to Shavkat Rakhmonov, so it's like, okay, yeah, you beat the former champion, but before that, you had lost to Shavkat Rakhmonov, and you could argue Pratis and especially Morales have had more, let's say, impressive victories. So. Usman versus Ian Machado Gary. Does that make a lot of sense?
Not really, in my opinion. I would do Usman fighting Belal. I would do that. I would let Belal fight Usman. I would not fight Gary, like I said, likely for the title. I would do Morales against Prates. I would do Leon Edwards against Joaquin Buckley. Brady against Jack Della Maddalena. And then you have pretty much covered everything. And Shafkat, I don't know what I'm doing with Shafkat.
Could just put Shavkat against Makachev and just tell Ian
Yeah,
Gary,
it's
well,
also
you're.
possible. Yeah, you can.
Let's talk about something that we went from a fight which was we knew was going to happen, a fight which and it was spectacular, a fight which we knew was going to happen. It was okay to yep. This we did not have on the bingo card. Volkan Ozdemir defeating Alonzo Menifield. First round knockout. Big knee over, right hooks, just unbelievable strikes. Is this the Ozemir that we've been all been looking for? The guy who's just a straight up killer.
I think Ozdemir is very underrated, man. He's a good fighter, you know. And the thing with Ozdemir that is bad is that he cannot fight in the US. So we only see him on these European or these Middle East cards, you know. And he's still pretty decent, you know. I think he almost manhandles everybody who is like between top 8 and top 15. But the thing is, like when he goes against the better guys, he doesn't show up sometimes, you know, and that's a problem with Volkan, I think, you know. But I mean, he looked amazing again last night, and he completely destroyed Manifield. Manifield known for only having 7 minutes of gas normally, but yeah, he just overwhelmed him, and he was quick with his hands. Manifield couldn't catch up with him, and yeah, good win for Uzumir. The thing is just like, dude is talented, but is the events he can fight are limited. That's the problem, you know.
Now, for those who don't know, why can't Volkan Ozdemir fight in the United States?
There had I don't know the exact reason, but I think there was like a court thing a couple of years ago, and that's why he cannot get into the United States, or at least he cannot compete there or whatever. I think so. If you really want to know the complete story, look it up. You probably can find it if you type Ozdemir not fighting in the States on Google. I don't know what exactly was up, but there was a case. He was in court before for it. So yeah, that's pretty much why.
All right, so who do you put him up with next? Because I had an idea that you would probably love.
Well, go ahead.
Volkan Ozdemir versus Marcel Dorff's arch nemesis, Khalil Roundtree Jr. Somebody's getting knocked out. There will be no grappling, which I know you'll be upset about, but there will be somebody just getting probably beaten the hell out of with either a headshot death kick, knees, combination punches. Like this just screams like, okay, make it a main event of like UFC Canada, UFC Europe, and just have some good old clean, slobber knocking fun.
Let's do it. I'm good with it. That's a good call, Chris. Yeah, let's do it.
And you'll be rooting hard for Volkamir to basically just, yes, Vulcan, end Khalil Roundtree. Run him out of the UFC. Just get rid of him. You treat you treat
But
unfortunately poor Khalil Roundtree like Dana views Bilal. Like, we gotta get rid of this guy. I don't know why he's here. We gotta get rid of him.
for some reason, everybody thinks I hate Khalil. I just think he's kind of overrated, man. But I don't hate him. Yeah.
On a more serious note,
Well, okay.
Because then I know we're gonna go on a tangent. We'll go over our 50 minutes, which we're like, okay, we need to keep this short and sweet. Where does Alonzo Menifield go? And you hate to say it, but is he sort of like one of the biggest disappointments in the UFC in terms of he has everything, but he just never puts it together?
I wouldn't say disappointment, you know. I think he's fighting. I mean, between like 12 and 20, that's pretty much his place in the division. I think, you know. For me, it's not a disappointment. I never saw him as a legit title contender or whatever, you know. So, um, but yeah, I mean, sometimes he has disappointing. How do you say that? Disappointing fights. You know, we've seen it before, and sometimes he looks really good. I mean, everybody remembers that crazy fight against Alberg where he got starched in 15 seconds. Then he has that Julius Walker fight, which was really like 50-50 and could have gone Julius' way as well. So, but went to a fight of the night. So sometimes he has good performances, and sometimes it's really underwhelming. I think that's his level, man. Between like 11 and 20 around there, you know, in the division, and that's not bad. It's still like really good overall.
Well, I guess in terms of, I guess my question with this fight with the next fight here is we're gonna get to Waldo Cortez in a second. How did this happen in the first place, though? Because we were, I know you and I have talked about how, okay, the UFC has to get better with short notice fights. They should be better. What's going on? How do they clear it where it's basically on a day's notice? Like that is insane to me how you can do that.
I mean, Waldo wanted the fight, you know, so and he had to travel. He had to travel, and he came there like 1.5 hours before the weigh-ins, which is crazy. You know, you don't see that happen often like that, you know. And man, good for Waldo. I mean, he got another 50K for him, you know, wants another fight before the end of the year. And how it comes together. Yeah, the UFC needed somebody to fight Spivak or to fight Gaziev after Spivak pulled out, you know. So um, yeah, I mean it came together and good for Waldo. Fought Gaziev, and yeah, he was just better. His hands were quicker, and he knocked him out. Beautiful win for Waldo, man, who has done pretty well this year. Only has one loss. Um, yeah, all credits to Waldo, man, for stepping up and then finishing his opponent in the first round.
So what do you do with Waldo Cortez Acosta next? I mean, he lost to Sergey Pavlovich, which
Say
wasn't
it,
bad at the
Chris.
time. Sergey's a little bit stumbled a bit. I mean,
Say
is
it.
he
Say it. You want to say it? Say it.
Curtis Blades? Is that a good enough
No,
step up?
no. Now you could say Derek Lewis.
We've given Derek Lewis everybody here. Like I can't have Derek Lewis
No,
fight
no,
everybody. So
now I would be if you said Derek Lewis, I would say yes, do it. And now he doesn't say it. I can't believe it.
because I
Um,
keep saying Derek Lewis is my guy. No, no, no. So I'm trying to leave off Derek Lewis because you're like, God damn, you throw him against everybody. So all right, so I know Derek Lewis is the fun fight, which is like everybody's like deep dish pizza with extra stuffed crusts. It's gonna be gluttonous but happy. For Cortez though, does he deserve like a next step where it's like, all right, let's see what happens against a guy who isn't gonna just stand in front of you and trade? Like, is he ready for like a pure wrestler?
yeah, if you want to do that, why not Jelton Almeida? You know, Almeida is above him in the rankings. Recently lost a close fight to Volkov, which probably cost him a title shot. We can do that, you know. If you want to do that, we can do Jelton Almeida. I think that makes sense. And then Waldo can also show how good his ground game is, you know.
Meanwhile, for Shamil Gaziev, should he have taken this fight? I mean, it's one thing to take on Sergey Spivak. It's another thing to take on Waldo Cortez Acosta. Like, I get it, you don't want to piss off the UFC, but for a lot of these fighters, at what point did you are like, no, no, I'm not taking on some guy within a day's notice who's a completely different fighter. I prepared for this guy, and now you're throwing me this guy who's completely different. No, no, this makes no sense. Just give me my goddamn show money and F off.
I mean, he wanted to fight, and he thought that he could beat him, and it was still a big, how do you say that? A big opportunity because Walter was in front of him in the rankings. So I understand that Gaziev took the fight, and I think, to be really honest, Pivak isn't an easier fight. Um, Although Spivak sometimes kind of fails under pressure, but he's not an easier fight in my opinion. So I understand that he took the fight, and yeah, it didn't pan out, but he also won the fight in Qatar. So it's close to his home. I think he's from Bahrain, or he trains in Bahrain. So yeah, I mean, I understand that he took the fight, and yeah, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and he lost this time. It happens. He lost to the better fighter.
How happy were you just that the heavyweight fight didn't last longer than 3 minutes? Because I know you and I have talked about this, and God damn it, these heavyweights, they have like a 4 minute gas tank, and then after that, it's just ugly, which we'll get to later
Yeah.
on this show. But how happy were you that it was like a minute 34, it's done, and you're like, thank God, they're not just huffing and puffing around the octagon.
Yeah, man, I almost popped the boner. So, um, and I have to take care right now because I'm 36, so I cannot have too many boners on a day. But, but yeah, I mean, I was happy, obviously, man. I don't like these heavyweight slop, which takes 3 rounds, 15 minutes. Like, yeah, the opener of the card, which was horrible. But this fight, yeah, I mean, I expected to be somebody to get starts early, and yeah, it happened. So listen, if these are the heavyweight fights with the entertainment and with the heavy punches and stuff, then it's always fun to watch. But too bad that a lot of guys in the UFC are like these. There are a lot of sloppy heavyweights in the UFC, but this was good. This was fun to watch, and not fun for Shamil, obviously, but for the neutral fan and for the Waldo Cortez fan, it was fun to watch.
Speaking of fun to watch, um, Mixbek Orbai defeated
Mm.
Jack Hermanson in the first round. That was impressive. That was one of those things you're looking at going, damn. Uh, let's start off here with the big question. How good is Orbai, and how much did he benefit from having a guy who was sort of eh, just not that good?
I mean, Oral did pretty well, and listen, Jack Hermanson, he's still a tough veteran, but I feel like his chin is gone. And he went from 185 to 170 now. I thought he looked decent, man, in the beginning of the fight, to be honest, man. He looked pretty decent, in my opinion. But Oral uh, pretty much, they didn't even clip him. He just punched him right in the ear. And he went knock out. And yeah, it looks bad for Jack, man. I mean, plus he got an extra shot when he was already knocked out. Um, and it's the second time pretty much that's happening. In the last fight with Gregory Rodriguez, he also got an extra shot while he was out already, and it's just not good for your health. Definitely not when you're getting older. And Jack is one of them. It's not the youngest anymore. I don't want to say he's old, but he's not the youngest anymore. And yeah, that was it's a pretty bad knockout. That's it's hard. I think he will probably be back anyways if the UFC doesn't get rid of him. I hope for him not. But man, that look bad, man. And good win for Allby, who looked great again. But man, I felt bad for Jack, dude. Jack is a good dude, and I don't want to see him get starched like that every single time.
So is Orbai ready for a top 15 fight? I mean, it's tough because Hermanson was cutting from 185, so you wonder if he just lost, if it was not just the chin, but also the gas tank. I mean, when you looked at Orbai and you looked at his last couple of fights, does this scream a guy who's like, all right, he's ready for Colby Covington? Or is this somebody that's like, oh, we should give him, let's say, another midway step up?
Give him another midway step up. It's just like it's only his first fight at 170. There's no rush. This guy is not old or whatever. So there's no rush. I would give him another shot against maybe like a guy who is not ranked right now, but who is still doing well at 170. Or you can go with, you can actually go with a ranked guy. And you go with Mike Malott. That makes a lot of sense as well. I was talking about that with Adam yesterday, and Adam said like, "No, dude, we're not going to do Mike Malott." It's like, why not? And he's like, "I don't want to see Mike get knocked out." And I was like, "Yeah, but I mean, if he's ranked above him, he should be able to beat him. You know what I mean?" So. He's like, no, no, we're not gonna do it. I was like, yeah, I'm actually for it. So Mike Malott.
Well, earlier you were talking about getting roused, a boner. Here, there must have been nipple play. I'm talking about Koji Horiguchi defeating Um, Tagir Albenbekov. Rear
Yeah.
naked choke, 2 minutes 18 seconds in round three. I could hear you go, that's the guy. Welcome back, Koji. We missed you. I'm guessing you even had like a Horiguchi, written on your chest. Because I know how much you love this guy, and you were happy just he's on the main card, and look what he did. A fun fight for a flyweight.
hmm Yeah, he did great. I mean, um, this is, in my opinion, Ulanbeko's legit first loss. I know he lost more fights, but this is a legit loss in my opinion. And yeah, man, Kyoji looked great. I'm happy he's back. He's a great fighter. And it took some time to get him back, right,
Rising,
from
yeah.
Rising and Bellator, yeah. But yeah, I'm happy he's back, and he looked better than ever, man. And listen, I I kind of underestimated him, to be honest, coming into this fight. I was like, is he still as good as he was? We don't know. And he was, and I'm happy with that because in the UFC he only lost to Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. When he fought for a title, it was very early, I remember. And yeah, I'm glad that he looks so good, and it sucks for Tagir, but man, great performance by Kyoji, man.
So what do you do with him next? I mean, do you give him somebody a Brandon Moreno? And do you give him like a top five guy? Because this isn't like somebody you really sign. It's like, okay, well, he's gonna earn his keep. Like this is somebody who back in the day was the second best flyweight in the division. As you said, only lost to Mighty Mouse Johnson. Since then, he's toured up in Ryzen, Bellator. He still took on a bigger, taller guy, and well, dropped him with a head kick, got the rear naked choke, finished, took care of business. Is he ready for, dare I say, like a top five fight right off the bat next?
I think they can do it, man. Kyoji is super popular with the fans. The funny thing is, like, he's training with Pantoja actually, so he's training with the flyweight champion, and he called out Pantoja to fight. So the thing is, the UFC is trying to get into Japan for a long, long time. They tried to get it with Taira. Taira lost to Royval. Then they tried it immediately with Asakura. Asakura lost to Pantoja. So man, why not? If Asakura can fight in his debut for a title, why Kyoji cannot fight for a title in his debut? Or in his comeback second fight? I don't. I wouldn't be surprised at all if the UFC gives him a title shot. I wouldn't be surprised. Don't call me crazy, but I wouldn't be surprised.
You had to find the irony of this, that a guy
Mhm.
that Dana cut, who he
Yeah,
basically said, all right, I don't want to deal with him. Now all of a sudden, he has to look at this guy and go, all right, this is our ticket back to Japan to have a big fight in, Japan. The irony and, the deliciousness of like the utter sort of hypocrisy is all here. Like, yeah, you were looking for all these Japanese guys when you had the perfect Japanese guy and you cut his ass. Now you have to bring him back and eat some humble pie. You must be loving all of this.
of course. You know me by now. Of course. I mean, yeah, it feels like remember when the UFC cut Tim Elliott and then did like an Ultimate Fighter to find the next challenger to fight Demetrius Johnson, and then Tim Elliott won the show. So it's pretty ironic. But yeah, but also Kyoji has been improving, I think, as well. The last couple of years. I just wasn't sure, like, if he still was on that caliber what he was before when he went to come from the UFC. But I think he actually leveled up. So I love to see him fight for a title, man. I think he's great.
Meanwhile, Obanekov, what do you do with him? Because on one hand, yes, it was a devastating loss because he got, dropped with a head kick and rear naked choked. He also lost to a guy who might go down as one of the best flyweights ever in the history right now of MMA. So, do you give him? What do you do for him? Do you give him like a guy just right below that top 10? Do you rebuild him back up from scratch? Like, what do you do for a guy who just ran into the wrong guy at the wrong place in the wrong time?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of options for him in the division, man. I don't know exactly who I would give him right now, but I think there are a lot of options. You can give him somebody close to him or somebody who is a little bit behind him. A lot of options. I mean, Alex Perez lost to Asa Amabayev. I'd love to see him against Perez. I think it makes sense. Fight was actually booked before, but the UFC went another way. I think a year or two ago. Um, yeah, why not against Perez? Good fight. Yeah.
Well, speaking of also Wood, it was the UFC. It wasn't Horiguchi they were happy with. They
Mm.
were happy with the newest, dare I say, mega superstar that they're calling. That's right. It is none other than Luke Riley. Uh, Second round knockout, left hook, grounded pound. Patty Pimblett celebrating. You know what the UFC is going. They're whispering, hey, we might get Patty Pimblett 2.0. We might get, dare I say, the next Conor McGregor. How quickly is we love Riley, but how quickly is the UFC gonna make us go, oh God, they're shoving him down our throat like it's a gallon of ice cream, and they're making us, suffocate on it.
You can see that in the second booking, man. Wonder who they book him against in the second fight. Um, if you look, for example, like you can see, listen, the UFC. I like Bogdan a lot, but the UFC obviously wanted to do this fight so Luke Riley could look good, and Luke Riley had trouble in the first round, and I think he will have a lot of more trouble with a lot of guys who have a good ground game. But he could adjust in the second round and he knocked him out. Amazing win. But you see how the UFC plans these things. He gets a Bogdan Grad, which is a winnable fight normally for him and was winnable. When Paddy came in the UFC, he got Luigi Vendramini, which is a winnable fight for him as well. And you look at Shamrock got fucking Nurullo Aliyev, and that's a super difficult fight. So the UFC knows who they want to push and who they really think it's fun, but they really don't care about, I feel like. So yeah, we'll see what happens next for Riley. I don't know who they're going to match him up with next, but they're probably going to match him up with somebody who has like a decent name, but isn't really that great, so Riley can keep on going. And probably match him for the next European card, probably in March again in London.
What did you think of Lincoln Riley's performance? Like, as somebody who
Great. I
follows the
mean,
sport,
second round was great. First round wasn't great. First round he had very much difficulties with grappling, didn't get away. And the second round, they pretty much they restarted, of course, and he looked great in the second round. I don't think it was worthy of the 50K performance bonuses. I think somebody else deserved it more, but good win for him, man. I mean, if you can come back from adversity in your first UFC fight, you got to give credit to the guy. So good finish. Um, but I mean, there was context to this fight. It was not like an easy money fight or whatever.
how would you book him? Let's say you're you're Dana White for a day. I know you're gonna go, oh my God, there's a lot of things that you would do, but with Luke Riley, like, would you give him another step up? Would you give him a softer step? Like, what do you do for a guy that you look and go, he is a talented prospect, but as you said, that first round was a bit, ugh.
Yeah, he's a 145er, right, Luke Riley, and there are a lot of 145ers in the UFC. Um, yeah, this is a really difficult question, man. Who should I give him? A 145. Yeah, that's actually they're not going to do that, but I think that would be a fucking fun fight against Gabriel Santos. That would be such a fucking fun fight, but I don't think they're going to do that. Um, they're probably going to give him somebody like Yi Jia or something, the Chinese guy, who is not bad, but is also not amazing. Somebody like that. But man, And now I'm thinking about it, man. Luke Riley, Gabriel Santos, that would be a fucking banger.
Rest of the undercard was an actually fun undercard. We had
Yeah.
Nicholas Dalby defeating Saigid Izamaka by split decision.
Hmm.
Asu Almabayev continues to impress. Rear naked choke in the third round against Alex Perez.
Hmm.
Abdul Rahman Yakayev defeating Rafael Sarika by rear naked choke in the first round. Alexander Topuria defeating Bekzat Almak by unanimous decision. Ismail Nardiev defeating Ryan Loder by overhand right knockout in the 126 in the first round. Narulo Aliyev defeating Shaquem Rock by unanimous decision. And the fight which you basically said, please God, kill me. This fight sucks. Denzel Freeman defeating Marek Bujo by unanimous decision, which, as you told me, I hate heavyweights. So besides that fight,
Yeah.
which fights did you like the most, and which undercard fighters did you look at and go, all right, I'm impressed. They deserve something bigger.
Yeah, it's difficult. Yeah, I was impressed with Yakiayev, but I didn't think that the fight didn't make sense at all. He was a minus 1200 favorite. I think nobody picked Shakira in that fight, so it didn't really make sense to me to book that fight. But I mean, it was a quick finish for him, so all credit to that guy. We had Alex Perez against Asu Almabayev. Man, Alex looked good, man, in the first two rounds, and then came stuck in the standing guillotine in the third. Um, and man, Alex Perez is a friend of mine, you know. So that fucking sucked to see, you know. I was like, dude, he's doing so great, fucking awesome, and then he gets caught in the third round by a choke. All credits to Asu Almabayev. Good win for him, you know. I think the Puria looked really good. Gotta give him credit. I think the first round he kind of struggled, but after that he took over and actually did very well against Al Makan, so great win for him. And the last one I want to pick out, Ismail Nordiev, who out of nowhere looked like the younger brother of Rafael Fiziev, but he also looked like he had the power of Rafael Fiziev out of nowhere. He knocked out Ryan Loder with a punch. Great win for him, man. Yeah, that was also one of the highlights. We had Aliyev against Shamrock. Yeah, it was pretty clear-cut win for Aliyev, which was funny. A lot of people, including myself, thought that he was going to grapple Shamrock, but actually he was in the striking better. And let's never talk about that first fight on the card ever again.
Do any of the undercard fighters strike you as guys who might be, let's say, within a year or so, title contenders? Like
No,
I know a lot of people right now are greasing up on the Asu Amabayev, win. They're going, hey, this is Kazakh, Thunder 2.0. This is, the next Shavkat Rakhmonov of that division. Do you see that, or is this just
no.
a guy who still needs some more seasoning?
He needs more seasoning, obviously. You saw his first two rounds against Perez. I know it was 1-1 on the scorecards. I had 2-0 Perez. And that's not because I'm biased, but because I really thought that Perez won the first two rounds. And Almabayev, in my opinion, came back in the fight, which is, like I said, coming back from adversity is always good, you know. But he needs more seasoning, in my opinion. You know, his game is too one dimensional, in my opinion. If he cannot take you down, he's in trouble. You saw it against Manuel Kac. He's a good fighter. Don't get me wrong. All respect to him, you know, but I don't see him as a title contender anytime soon. And neither of the preliminary fighters I see that with, to be honest. Listen, Yakiayev looked amazing, but against an opponent he should be able to finish in the first round. So, um, yeah, I don't see anybody as a title contender on the prelims, but maybe that changes. Maybe next year you tell me like, "Hey, dude, remember November last year when I asked you and you said no, and now he's in the title contention." You know, so it crazy things can happen. You know.
Final topic before we have to let you go, because we're again, we actually don't have a fight this weekend because it's Thanksgiving weekend, and
Yeah,
shocker, UFC's taking it off. I've been holding off on this because I'm like, okay, maybe it'll die down, maybe it'll die down. No, it's still going here. That is the Ronda Rousey interview on Bert Kreischer, in
yeah.
which she basically took a napalm, bomb and dropped it on UFC fans, on Joe Rogan, basically saying that, Joe Rogan, what are his credentials? He's just a guy who did Taekwondo. that UFC fans are, what have you done for me lately? That they turn on all guys who lose.
What
I
you
mean,
want my
how often do you
opinion?
look at this? I mean, when you've now had time to let this, sit and
Yeah.
simmer, how
Yeah.
much does it bother you, Marcel, that this is somebody who, like John Jones, you want to like. We've wanted to like Ronda, and it just you look and it's like, God damn it, just show some humility, any kind. We're not asking for a lot, because it's almost like she just hates this sport and the fans who made her.
Ronda Rousey is the biggest crybaby ever in MMA. You know, I I never liked her. I never did. Also, not when she was on top. She came to me across as super arrogant all the time. She won, so you couldn't say too much about it. And she was just like, look, I always felt like she was looking down on a lot of people, and then she lost. Yeah, and people turned on her, a lot of people, because the way she handled that loss. It wasn't her fault, it was everybody else's fault. The media was bad, blah, blah, blah. Then she came back to fight Nunes. The UFC gave her every fucking thing, They gave her like all the commercials. Nunes was almost nowhere visible, while she was the champion. Ronda got all the airtime. She loses again and she goes off again. It's like, and fucking Joe Rogan actually told her, like, that she was amazing and that she even maybe could compete with men. Remember that when she was with Edmund Taverdian in his show on the Joe Rogan podcast, he said that, and now she's gonna gonna cry about Joe Rogan. She's like, hey, she's irrelevant right now to the sport, in my opinion. Yes, she has a great legacy besides the last two fights. She has a great legacy that she will always be remembered as one of the women's big women champions and influences in the sport back then. But she always had like such a bad demeanor about her, And I always felt that way, not just when she was losing, but also when she was winning. And I've never been a fan, dude. And I mean, she talked shit last time about Joe Rogan, also about Khabib thing, and about the media. I was like, what are you crying about, man? If anything, you get a pass for a lot of people, and it's your own fault, in my opinion.
I mean, I was thinking about this here. You look at some of the most beloved UFC fighters, even
Mm, yeah,
today, and it's Michelle Watterson, Tony Ferguson. Uh, you've had Randy Couture. You've had Max Holloway. These are guys who've lost several times. I mean, Dustin Poirier, one of our most beloved fighters. We've talked about it. He can go anywhere in any UFC event and people will cheer him.
yeah.
I guess, I get what she says. Oh yeah, fans will, crap on you, but how much do you look at it and go, wait a minute here, if that's the case, and why are all these fighters I just name dropped here, but you've agreed, why are they popular, Ronda? Why do fans love them? Is it the wins and losses, or how much of it is just, as you said, she's never had a connection. She treated MMA like it was, all right, I'm making money, it's fine, great, and you're kissing my ass, but if not, well, screw you. And then she left for WWE and just didn't give two craps again.
Yeah, good. Stay there. We don't miss you. Like she doesn't miss us. We don't miss her. You know. Look at her sitting there, man. Like she just. I'm not even. I not even want to talk about her anymore, man. Fuck whatever she says. I don't give a shit. It's just annoying to me. She walked away from the sport, all good, but then stop, then not go after that, go cry about it. I mean, Joe Rogan didn't do anything bad to you, and I also criticize Joe Rogan if I don't agree with him, but Joe Rogan didn't do anything bad to her. The media didn't do anything bad to her, and the fans, that's pretty much her own fault, in my opinion. So she can blame everybody she wants. I don't give a shit.
Final topic on this before to end the show is the love that Joe Rogan got from people. And we've seen every fighter almost back up Joe Rogan, say, no, no, he knows what he's talking about. He's done this here.
Hmm.
You've seen him. I mean, as I said, said there's times you don't like Joe Rogan for his takes and his views, and there's times you like him here. Does he know what he's talking about, though? I mean, if you had to have somebody who's not a MMA fighter, is Joe Rogan somebody that you look at and go, all right, he knows what he's talking about. He has credentials to back it up for a non-UFC fighter.
I mean, I'm also a non-UFC fighter, so who am I to say? But I think at the technical point of view, Joe Rogan knows a lot. He knows a lot about jiu-jitsu. Obviously, he's been doing commentary fighting for a long time, and he practices a lot of stuff as well. So he knows what he's talking about, in my opinion. The only thing that I bother with Joe Rogan is that as of lately, and that's the last couple of years, he's not really into MMA anymore. I feel like, he only does the big events, which if it's in the US, and you hear in his talking what he says that he doesn't follow it as like crazy anymore like he did before. He knows the big names, but sometimes I'm like, this is not true what you're saying, or this is a weird take. But hey, I mean, I'm not going to shit on him. And all fighters are, how do you say that, are happy with him. Obviously, they want to be on the Joe Rogan podcast, so they're not going to say anything bad about him, you know. Plus, they respect him for the years of work, what he did for the UFC and the promotion he always did for MMA. So all these fighters pretty much love him. So um, I think, to be really honest, Joe Rogan is kind of out of it, as of lately. But I still respect him for what he did for the sport, because he's been like a pioneer if it comes to commentating and promoting the sport. So yeah, I will always give him respect for that. But his takes sometimes, definitely in combination with Cormier, it's horrible here and there. But I have all respect for Joe Rogan.
So what are you gonna do now this weekend? Because usually we're talking of the next big upcoming fight where we're getting ready for you because you're not American. There's no Thanksgiving. You're like, oh God damn, what the hell is gonna happen? So how tough is this weekend gonna be for you, Marcel, where you're sitting there like, God damn, there's no UFC fight. What the hell am I gonna do? Jesus, I'm
Yeah.
gonna be bored this weekend. God damn you Americans. Why can't you just have a holiday like in Europe where everything we're all on the same page? We're not skipping weeks. I have something to talk about this weekend. I'm gonna be just God damn, I have to actually talk about Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua.
Probably jerking off one time more. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know what I'm going to do. We'll see. There's always something to do. If there's no UFC, I have something else to do. Uh, I'm never bored. And if I'm really getting bored, I still can play video games. So it's okay. I don't mind, dude. I'm actually happy that we got a week off. Good news. It has been some time that we had a week off. So, but yeah, we're gonna have like 5 or 6 weeks off after December 13th. So, yeah. We'll see.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be on the abridged episode because we have some stuff to do. I have to get ready for holidays. He has to get ready for, as he said, to pontificate the meaning of life. I give you once again the MMA thespian insider newsbreaker himself. I give you Marcel Dorff. So, Marcel, before we let you go, where can fans check you out at? Where is the Twitter, the podcast, the website, probably an Instagram, a Rumble channel? Where can fans hit you up at?
First of all, thanks for having me as always, Chris. Big Marcel 24, Twitter, Instagram, Eurosport.nl mixed martial arts section for the articles, MMA Odds Breaker podcast with Adam. We did it yesterday. Normally is on a Sunday. Um, yeah, that's it pretty much. And before I left, I want to say thanks for having me again. And all listeners, all American listeners, I want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving next week.
Marcel Dorff, ladies and gentlemen, once again, always on a pleasure to have you on the show. We come back. We got a lot more going on here. Only on it's Last Call. Last Call of the Alcohol, only on the Last Call Podcast.com.